I had a feeling my family was messed up, but I never imagined they'd try to ruin my life after I refused to pay back a $70,000 loan by using my identity to get it. Greetings, I am Emily Parker. I reside in Chicago, a city of towers and never-ending activity, where the sun shines on Lake Michigan and the winter weather can gnaw at your bones. I am 30 years old. During the day, I am employed as a data analyst at a prominent downtown financial company, an environment where data is meaningful, charts are accurate, and everything seems stable and predictable. That is how I prefer it. Working hard, keeping your life structured, and following the laws will keep you safe. Right. That's what I've always thought. However, I was completely unprepared for the extent to which my own relatives might go behind my back. As far as anyone can tell, we're just the Parkers, a picture-perfect typical American family. Raymond Parker. My dad is a famous surgeon who has a wall of medals in his office. When he enters a room, everyone seems to stand up a bit straighter. At church, bake sales, my mom, Carolyn, a high school teacher, is idolized for her well-manicured hair and charming smile. Her pupils adore her. And last but not least, my sister. Hello. My name is Samantha Parker. Her age is 27, stunningly beautiful, consistently the focus of gazes. Her hair goes from platinum 1 month to copper the next, depending on the season. She lives the life that appears spectacular via a phone screen, chasing goals in the fashion industry, uploading photos from rooftop bars and private events. And she's the it girl on social media. When I was a kid, it seemed like 2 different universes existed in one house. There was one that was dazzling and colorful, Samantha's world. Mine was the quietest of the 2. She was a wild child with a flaming personality, and my parents loved her for it. Her tantrums were described as passionate by those around her. My requests for space and honest expression were met with the label difficult whenever I expressed myself. They said it was a youthful mistake when she wrecked Dad's brand new vehicle when she was 19. And they said it was irresponsible when I accidentally spilled coffee on the carpet. Samantha made short work of everything. Opportunities. I am forgiven. Stay focused. I was always the one to clean up after dinner, while Samantha regaled us with her crazy stories about her modeling jobs and attending star parties. All the time. I sat there, trying not to be seen, as my folks gave her the side eye like she was hanging stars. I was the one who had to work 2 jobs to pay for Northwestern. But it didn't matter. My 401k, my own condo in Lincoln Park, and my impeccable credit, which I protected like a priceless jewel, were all rendered irrelevant. Samantha stood out to them. I served as a buffer zone, and I accepted it for quite some time. I thought family meant giving up something important, like helping Samantha get back on her feet. However, there is a distinction between lending a hand and allowing someone to ruin your life. Nothing brought that point home more than the day I opened the package that would alter my perception of loyalty, love, and the real price of family. Thoughts of the past have brought me to the realization that there were always fissures, little holes in the seemingly flawless Parker family. I sat on the stairs as a 12-year-old, listening to my parents' tense arguments. It all came down to money, and Samantha, she was already unique even at that young age, special, solid as rock. She had a tantrum because she had been denied a designer outfit for the school dance, while Mom insisted that Dad purchase it nevertheless, explaining that Samantha just wanted to feel special. I was teaching myself to stitch the hem of my own dress, as Mom had told me that mine wasn't worth the cost to alter. Those times, they were humble beginnings. Samantha was living it up in high school, dating older men, skipping courses, and amassing a collection of designer handbags, much like a starlet in a teen drama. I tutored the football squad to cover college application expenses and maintained a perfect GPA, like an unseen sister. However, the gravity of the repercussions increased as we aged. Samantha opted to attend a Los Angeles fashion institute when she was 20 years old. It seemed like she got into Harvard. My parents couldn't contain their joy. They gave her a credit card for emergencies and some new bags before she left. While pursuing my degree in finance, I worked 3 part-time jobs. I called my mom one night after working 2 shifts and was so tired that I thought I would have to skip a class because the books were too expensive. She advised me to stop being dramatic and keep in mind my good fortune in being able to take care of myself. It was almost overwhelming, but that was not the case for me. As usual, I gulped it. Next up were the monetary favors. Samantha wept so hard the first time she phoned me for help that I hardly understood a word she said. She was afraid of being evicted since she had fallen behind on the rent. My transfer to her was $1,500, made that very night. The next day, she sent me a text message that said, "Thank you, you're my lifesaver," along with a photo of herself kissing me. Kissing. A month down the road, she shared an image from a Malibu pool celebration. There was no break in that trend. Unpaid bills, auto repairs, and rent were just a few examples of the never-ending cycle of crises in Samantha's life. It was the final time. She insisted every time. I kept believing her because I wanted everyone to stop labeling me as the difficult one and start seeing me for who I really was. Guilt trips followed me like shadows, no matter how many boundaries I attempted to create. "Emily, you're so strong," would be some of Mom's favorite phrases. "Samantha doesn't have your physique. You must provide her a hand." Then Dad would say, "We've put a lot of money into your future. The least you can do is be there for your sister when she's in a jam." For every vacation, I clenched my jaw. On one occasion, Samantha forgot to purchase Christmas presents, so I discreetly paid for them so she wouldn't embarrass herself in front of our family. I was the one who got in trouble for starting dinner without her on Thanksgiving, even though she was 3 hours late. Then the little betrayals began to escalate. My credit card company called me a few years ago regarding some questionable charges, an airline ticket to Miami, a stay at a 5-star hotel, and a pair of designer shoes. A credit card that Samantha had authorized user applied in some way was ultimately linked to the transactions. Mom explained to me when I challenged them, "She was just borrowing it. She would have paid you back." My dad once asked me, "Why do you feel the need to find excuses to be harsh with your sister?" A sense of madness washed over me. This is because they were always able to re-entice me whenever I attempted to break free. However, I was unprepared for the day when a loan in my own name would have the potential to devastate my life. Despite all of those warning signals and memories, it occurred at the beginning of October on a Saturday. As I sat at my desk, diligently working on a quarterly report, my phone suddenly buzzed with a notice. My cousin Olivia had posted the Instagram photo with the hashtag. I was smacked in the face by the photo, under a silver and gold balloon arch that said, "Happy 40th anniversary, Ray and Carolyn." My entire family, my parents, Samantha, aunts, uncles, cousins smiled, with sparkling champagne glasses and illuminated tables. Samantha strutted her stuff in the middle of the room, looking like the boss in a glittering cocktail dress that was probably more expensive than my rent. I felt queasy, celebrating 40 years of marriage for my parents. Quite an accomplishment. I thought we would be celebrating this night together. My heart sank as I spun the photo carousel, seeing scenes like Dad raising a glass in toast, Mom choking back tears of joy, a gigantic cake fashioned like a wedding ring, and Samantha embracing long-lost friends. "Even I have no place," my vision clouded after staring at the television for so long. As I sat here, my coffee grew cold again. The phone call to my mom's number was made with shaking hands. With a cheerful and airy voice, she responded on the third ring. "Hello, my love. How's the one I love the most?" A knot formed in my throat, and I had to swallow desperately to get my words out. "Mom, I missed your anniversary party. Why didn't you invite me?" My entire world tipped in that split second of stillness. "Emily, please don't make this official. It was only an informal gathering. Very impromptu. Your constant work schedule was known to us." Anyway, Samantha brought up the fact that you stated you couldn't make it. I spoke with an elevated, incisive tone. "That is completely false. Without consulting me first, why would you accept her word for it?" My mom sighed, and every time she did, I felt even smaller. "Your sister has been going through a tough patch recently." Emily, that night, she wished there had been no stress. You are aware of her sensitivity. We felt it would be the most beneficial for everyone. The greatest for all parties involved. Except me. It hurt to breathe. It seemed as if the room had been evacuated. A text message appeared on my screen that night while I was alone in my flat. Samantha sent it. "Excuse me, I didn't see you at the party. Simply fantastic. 2. Would you be able to advise me on a present for my parents? Please lend me your financial expertise. I'm considering a pair of diamond earrings. LOL. I am not apologizing. I don't understand. Another inquiry. As if my exclusion had been insignificant. As if I had been nothing more than a footnote. With my hands covering my face in an attempt to control the sobs, I flung my phone across the sofa. Reason being, skipping a party wasn't the only issue. It proved without a reasonable doubt that my value was not valued by my own family. While I sat there, watching the city lights flicker outside my window, a part of me started to crumble. The envelope came a few weeks after the anniversary party, which I was unable to attend. The date was Thursday night. That wet, brisk air that settles over Chicago in the latter half of October, the type that seeps into your very bones, encircled the city. After a long day at the office, I had just returned home, put my keys in the bowl at the entrance, and begun to browse through my mail. An envelope that is thick and cream-colored, bills, rubbish flyers. In the upper left corner, my parents' address was carefully written. Some hope flickered in my heart. Perhaps that was an attempt at apologies. The letter's author expressed regret for having crossed a line. I felt their absence. What I had in my hands was actually a bomb, and it was about to go off. There was a stack of clean papers within. As soon as I laid eyes on the initial page, retail installation contract for vehicles, and under that, money loaned $70, $425.36. The words were like a river rushing past me, and I blinked desperately as I tried to decipher them. Samantha Parker is the buyer. Emily Parker is the co-signer. Hello, I am name. In a signature that was so meticulously faked that it passed for mine. My heart raced with chills. My fingers trembled so violently that the paper shook as I turned the pages. Loan conditions, interest rates, and monthly payments totaled more than $100. Forms for insurance purposes. A warranty extension contract. The last page had a handwritten message from Samantha attached to it. Helped me buy the Porsche Macan that I've always wanted. Thanks, parents assured me that you would comprehend. Nov 1st is when payment is due. Hey there. Sister, I adore you. The whole packet almost fell to the floor. The ultimate Porsche Macan. My head was spinning, trying to figure out how my sister, who was late with her rent half the time, had gotten a luxury SUV in my name. Before I could persuade myself otherwise, I called my parents after 2 rings. My dad picked up. Hello, Emily. You made my day regarding the vehicle? Listen, my voice quivering, I interrupted him. Dad, what on earth is going on here? Samantha didn't have me co-sign anything. I did not sign that. As if I were causing him trouble. He sighed. Tell me it isn't so. My darling. Samantha was in need of a trustworthy car. A co-signer was needed by the dealership. No one doubted that you would wish to lend a hand to your sister. It's only a few payments. You're doing well. My heart skipped a beat. Several installments. This is deceitful. Dad, you got a loan of $70,000 in my name by forging documents. Emily, it is very cruel. Because you were going to complicate things. Your mother signed on your behalf. We are all aware that you would prefer to lend a hand than watch your sister get stuck. She can't turn up in a beat-up automobile since she has major professional plans. A scream escaped me. Just as I had grown up with, my father's voice had an air of contempt. That nudge that Samantha's desires were more important than my own. I ended the call before saying something I might later come to regret. I felt queasy because my heart was beating so rapidly. As I felt the documents fall through my fingers, I slumped into the edge of my couch. There was no favor involved. That was illegal. And I never knew before that my family could kill me if it meant Samantha's world would continue to revolve. I stood in front of the towering red brick colonial, surrounded by a pristine lawn and the soft flutter of the American flag. 3 days later, at the Parker family home in the suburbs, that same house, which appeared so inviting in holiday greeting cards, suddenly seemed like a stronghold I had to break into. In the driveway, shining in the afternoon light, was Samantha's shiny new Porsche Macan. Ringing the doorbell made my heart thump. Mom, who was clad in a delicate pink cardigan, responded with an artificial grin that remained firmly on her face. Hey there, Emily. Pleasure to meet you. Please, darling, come inside. As soon as I went inside, an unwanted wave of nostalgia washed over me in the form of the comforting aroma of cinnamon candles, arms folded, and a solemn expression on Dad's face. He waited in the living room. Sitting on the white leather couch, Samantha pretended like nothing was wrong while she scrolled through her phone. Across from Samantha, Dad pointed to a chair. Take a seat. Emily, let's have a grown-up conversation about this. I was not going to sit. A loud and quivering sound of my voice sliced through the stillness. I'm not in this to have a chat. Just tell me why. Just why would you want to fake my signature? For what reason would you put a $70,000 loan in my name? At last. Samantha raised her head and rolled her eyes. I can't believe how theatrical you are. It's only a car. My hands were tightly clasped together. You can't treat a Porsche that costs $70,000 like any other vehicle. Sam, what you did was dishonest. Has that sunk in? Maybe you may ruin my good name, my profession, all my life. Firm and disdainful. Dad's voice roared. Young woman, be mindful of your tone. We're quite close. Families support one another. Your behavior is reminiscent of a random stranger. I sent him a look as my heart raced. No one's family ever forged a loan application. My identity was taken from me. You have no right to treat me that way. When Samantha's phone rang, she sprang to her feet and flung it onto the sofa. You seem to have an inflated sense of self-importance. A picture-perfect apartment. You and your Excel spreadsheets. Yes, Emily, you have always looked down on me. Let me tell you something. Living is a goal for some of us. Rather than living in a prison of spreadsheets, I choked back the tears that threatened to flow. But I held them back. This has nothing to do with my egotism. The crux of the matter is that you made me pay for an automobile that I did not purchase. My career is in jeopardy because of you. What lies ahead for me? Also, why? So a premium SUV can be used for selfies. With a quiet, soothing voice, Mom attempted to stand between us. My darling Emily, Samantha is now experiencing an immense amount of strain. This automobile is an integral aspect of her image as she builds her business. Our assumption was that you would comprehend. You never fail to be the courageous one. I chuckled with a harsh and sour tone. I see. That powerful one. Ignoring that one is an option. That one you can take advantage of, as I'll be the one to fix things. Being there for you has worn me out. As her voice rose, Samantha scowled. When I told you, you're terrifying. Emily, you're all by yourself. Never married. I have no children. Whoa, you don't even own a pet. You believe that your superiority is based on the fact that you work constantly. Quick update. You're not popular, everyone. Not even your relatives. Something inside of me cemented in that instant. Even if her words pierced through me like glass, I locked eyes with her. This way. At least my own life isn't free. If I want to appear successful, I don't have to steal credit from someone else. As his voice became low, Dad's expression grew gloomier. You can consider yourself cut off from all of us. That is, if you persist in dragging this family through the legal system and the police over this bogus crap. Slamming into my ribs was my heart. For an instant, I had that familiar terror. The dread of being abandoned by those who seemed to love me. But suddenly something clicked for me. I wasn't actually going anywhere. They had never laid eyes on me. With a cool, collected tone, I raised my chin. Well, it looks like I've already left. I then left, leaving them in utter shock as I strode away. After I went out into the cool October air, the door banged shut behind me, and I felt a tremor run through my whole body. Nonetheless, I couldn't afford to let myself go. Reason being, the consequences arrived more quickly than I had anticipated. I was sitting at my office desk the next morning, attempting to concentrate on an earnings estimate, when my work phone called. There it was, the bank. My main savings account had suspicious login attempts highlighted. According to a woman whose voice was kind but wary, someone had attempted to transfer $10,000 the night prior, but failed. The depths of my pit fell. Can you identify somebody who may potentially access your online banking account? Her question was rhetorical. My thoughts wandered to the old laptop that I had given to my parents for Christmas last year, the one that I had used several times during my visits home. I muttered, my voice strained. Changing passwords and securing all of my accounts required me to spend my lunch hour on the phone with fraud departments. With each breath, the worry seemed like a crushing weight on my chest. My personal mobile phone had a plethora of messages by the time I returned home that evening. My mom gave me one. Emily, your father is really crushed. Samantha can't stop crying because of a little misunderstanding. How dare you treat us this way? Here, we are like family. This one is oozing with poison and comes from Samantha. You ruined everything. I'm sorry. I have angered my father. May your cherished credit score provide you with comfort as you sleep. The following day at work, though, was the final nail in the coffin. Inside her office, which was surrounded by glass, my employer, Meredith, summoned me. As I felt my heart racing, she softly shut the door and folded her hands on the desk. Emily, your father called me? I was taken aback. He mentioned that you're under a great deal of emotional strain. He was worried about your stability in handling confidential client information. I felt as though my blood vessels become icy. Meredith had a nice expression on her face and a serious tone in her words. There is no reason for me to doubt your performance, I assured him. Is there, however, anything more I need to know? I felt a wave of shame go over me. Things are being manipulated by my father. Together with my sister, they used my identity to get a vehicle loan. The tale is lengthy. Well, I'm doing just well. I pose no threat to this company. A hint of uncertainty was seen in Meredith's eyes as she nodded slowly. Everyone was staring at me through the glass as I walked out of her office. Smiling, co-workers spoke forward. As I walked by, people were whispering. There was no longer any privacy for my personal torment. I felt like my world was collapsing when I returned home that night and stood in my cramped kitchen, gazing at the microwave clock blinking 12:0. Loving ones, doing work, good name. Everything was falling apart, one thread at a time. At that point, I started to question if I would ever have the skills to reassemble it, a week down the road. I was gripping a coffee cup so tightly that my knuckles hurt in a little cafe on Chicago's North Side. One of my co-workers suggested private investigator Jessica Blake, who sat across from me at the table. With her serene voice and piercing blue eyes, this woman in her early 40s gave me hope that I wasn't going crazy. Jessica peered across the bridge of her nose at me as she opened a leather notepad. "All right. Are you requesting that I investigate your own family?" I chuckled nervously. I can almost hear it. However, I am curious as to the extent of this. The folks that raised me, the sister of my brother, they're not merely crafty. It seems like there's a trend here. Jessica slowly nodded. "Confess all you think I need to know. Do not omit anything." With that, I proceeded. From Samantha's phony credit cards, to my own forgery of a co-signer's signature, to my father's attempt to damage my career by contacting my supervisor, I spilled the beans on every secret I'd stifled for years. With a careful eye, Jessica took notes while attentively listening. With a gentle thump, she shut her notepad as I eventually became silent. "Very well. I'll begin by going over the financial documents, real estate, court filings. Let's find out what else your relatives have been keeping hidden." She contacted me again after 3 days. "Hello, Emily, we should speak." The same cafe was where we reconnected. At this point, she reached across the table and brought a tiny file over to me. "I looked into the finances of your parents, plus Samantha's." As she talked, I kept my breath held. "In the past 5 years, your parents have refinanced their house 3 times. Their retirement assets are now being used as collateral for lines of credit. Furthermore, they have about $80,000 in credit card debt." I was taken aback. However, they live it up to the fullest. The journeys, these vehicles, the garments. Stable was Jessica's gaze. "Things as they seem. Emily, everything is relative." The page was flipped by her. "Additionally, Samantha is more involved than you realize. Unpaid balances of more than $120,000 have accrued on her credit cards, personal loans, and even payday lenders. Plus, there's proof that your cousin Tyler's loan from 2 years ago was co-signed by your parents. The timeshare is worth $25,000. Defaulting was his act. Plus, your folks almost threatened to cut him off if he didn't repay them." "It seemed as if the ground was giving way under my feet," Jessica said more softly. "This isn't an isolated instance. Emily, there is a trend in your family. The breadwinner of the family is the one they aim their attacks at. The guilt is used by them. What a disgrace, unwavering devotion. Although you aren't the first to do it, you may be the first to refuse." I felt hot, stinging tears build up in my eyes. I blamed myself for everything for so long. The rebellious child, the distant sibling. Their fault, though. A delicate squeeze from Jessica on my hand. "It's not insane. You appear to be a target, and that's the end of it." My thoughts was racing with astonishment and rage as I stormed out of that cafe, my heart racing. I finally understood in that very moment. I hadn't been deceived by my family just yet. Their whole livelihood was built on deceiving those who had faith in them. I found myself in a sunny office on the 24th floor of a major Chicago building 2 days later. Natalie Carter, a partner at one of the city's leading legal firms, sat across the polished mahogany desk. Her voice was low, precise, and steady the type that could make you feel both frightened and protected. And she wore a blue suit. I had given her a stack of papers, including the forgery for the vehicle loan, copies of Samantha's messages, her bank records, and Jessica Blake's investigative report. And she was going over them all, after what seemed like an eternity. Natalie finally removed her spectacles and met my gaze with expressionless steel. "Listen, Emily, I'm going to tell you the truth. Did your family do anything false advertising? Fraud punishable under law? You have the option to file criminal charges against your sister and mother if you so want. Possible jail term." The phrase prison time resounded in my ears, and a chill went down my spine. Hardly did I swallow. I refuse to accept this way of life any longer. I will not tolerate it if my mother goes to prison. Their goal was to end my life. Natalie slowly nodded. "You have another choice. It is possible to submit reports to the bank and the dealership. They'll take the car and delete your name from the loan. Your credit will be safe. But Samantha's may take a serious hit. On the other hand, we might try to work out a civil settlement in which they pay your damages plus your legal fees. In either case, you must be ready for battle." As I felt a tingling sensation throughout my body, I fixed my gaze on the wood grain of the desk. Natalie hung her head down. "I have something really private to tell you, Emily. I had $30,000 taken out of my savings account by my own father when I was 25 years old. Even on the loan paperwork, he forgeried my name, because the thought of losing my family was too terrifying. I let it to pass. For an instant, she stood there, her gaze averted. Family doesn't have the right to mistreat you simply because you share DNA. I didn't discover this for 5 more years after losing nearly everything. You are not a horrible daughter because you have boundaries. You are liberated by them," I muttered, trying to hold back my tears. "I'm sick and tired of always having to take the lead. It's getting old to always be the scapegoat." Natalie lowered her voice. "Then perhaps it's time to cease making payments." I felt an unexpected and intense sensation building up in my chest. I drew a long breath. It is my intention to submit the fraud reports. My name must be cleansed. Plus, I'd like to make it such that they can't harm me in the future. A slow, affirmative nod was given by Natalie. "Very well. Tomorrow we will begin at the bank. I will be in charge of all correspondence. You should just retain all of their correspondence. Completely silent. No commitment. Stand up for yourself right now." As I stepped out of her office, the nearly blinding late afternoon sun reflected off the towering towers. My cheeks were pricked by the icy breeze that came off the lake. It had been months, but now I finally felt lighter. Feeling terrorized? Too bad. However, less heavy. I had finally decided something, for the sake of those who had never once shielded me. I had had enough of giving up what was to come. My phone rang 3 days later as I stood in the kitchen, looking into the fridge in utter disbelief, questioning whether I still had any hunger. Robert, the head of the bank's anti-fraud division, was the one who called. His tone was kind yet firm. "Dear Ms. Parker, I'm phoning to make sure we've finished our inquiry. The forgery of your signature has been confirmed. The loan application does not include you anymore. The car will also be taken back." I released a breath that I had been suppressing unconsciously. "I am incredibly grateful," I said, my voice quivering with emotion. As I laid my head against the chilly stainless steel of the refrigerator door, tears streaming down my cheeks. I hung up the phone. The comfort, however, was short-lived. My phone went into overdrive with alerts little under 2 hours after that. Someone was phoning Samantha, countless times, messaging records replete with screams. I lost my automobile. "What's up?" "Emily, I'm stuck in the mall. Why would you subject me to this? My entire life was shattered by you." I remained silent. Instead, I decided to block her number. I felt a shiver go down my spine as I pushed the screen. Then Mommy rang. Her voice quivered with a combination of anger and tears. "This has made your father quite ill. Samantha is really crushed. We don't understand how you could betray us in this way. I do not consider you a daughter." I also blocked her. Next thing I knew, I had blocked my dad. I disconnected all digital connections to those who had only ever used me. One by one, I was home alone that night, staring out my window at the city lights that seemed like faraway stars. I thought I was a ghost for an instant, flying free, on my own. However, something began to click for me as time went on. I was losing more than just my loved ones. I was finally liberated. After 2 weeks on the job, I decided to leave. Despite Meredith's best efforts, I was determined to go. My journey to Austin, Texas, began with me packing up my flat and donating half of my possessions to charity. I finally got to go to the sunny, open spot I'd always imagined. A little loft in Austin was my rental. Took up consultancy work as a freelancer, participated in a trekking club, registered for treatment twice weekly. Plus, I finally felt like I was taking charge of my life and making it my own. A life unencumbered by secrecy, shame, or the need to fix the mistakes of others. Daniel was a nice guy at my evening yoga session. He asked if I would like to have tacos later and had gentle eyes and a gentle giggle, since we dined on fiery cuisine amid the twinkling lights of a fairy tale. I laughed till my tummy hurt, since it had been an eternity since I had laughed. He was unaware that I was known as the savior's sister, or the difficult one. To him, I was simply Emily. And that was sufficient. Even now, there are nights when I still get a pounding heart and the terror that I've made a fatal error. Sometimes, in the middle of the day, when it's just me and my small loft in Austin, I glance around and I worry if I've lost too much. The folks that raised me, the sister of my brother. For a long time, I held on to the concept of family. Then it hit me. The reality. Having blood ties isn't the only definition of family. It's not other people that want you to put their comfort before your own. In times of crisis, family members are the ones who rally behind you, the ones who don't bother to maintain counts. Your true friends are those that adore you unconditionally, regardless of your abilities. Just because you are. I've realized that being firm with others doesn't equate to being unkind. Rather, it liberates you. The lesson I've taken away is that no one is above telling you no, not even your parents. The most important thing I've learned is that it's not selfish to prioritize your own tranquility. To survive is the goal, even with restricted numbers. Samantha occasionally tries to get in touch with people she knows from her past. Her emotions, expressed in her communications, range from fury to remorse. However, I no longer respond. Reason being, I've come to realize that loving someone does not include allowing them to ruin your life. I began blogging a short while ago, not out of pity, but because I want to help someone else who is going through what I went through and is feeling stuck. And if what I say may make even a single person see that picking one's own path is acceptable, if that's the case, perhaps my struggles weren't in vain. A fresh truth has been shown to me. Whoever shares your DNA isn't really family. They are the ones that celebrate your successes, share your sorrows when you fail, and never, ever, ever demand you to make up for your own shortcomings. If you are here listening, and you are burdened with unjustified secrets, obligations, shame, I want you to understand there is support for you. Deciding you desire peace is not self-centered. Even if they claim to be family, you should still distance yourself from those who harm you. And sometimes, the most courageous and selfless thing you can do is to choose yourself. Simply said, we don't have time to waste on the mayhem of other people. Finally, living your life is what you should do.